Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Shell Pick by the CWC. And today we have Dr. Laia Anguix from the Radboud University, where she is a postdoctoral fellow, and she will be talking about her co-edited journal volume, Museum Histories, which came out recently in 2022. Yeah. Professor, please go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to this talk. I feel honored to talk about this special guest issue that I co-edited with my colleagues Massimiliano Papini and Elisabetta Fabrizi. When we were, I was a PhD student at Northumbria University, like Massimiliano was also a colleague there. We were both doing our PhDs, and Elisabetta was a PhD candidate at Newcastle University, which is a university in the same city. We were sharing city, but in different institutions. And this was our shared project.
So what first led you into examining the role of museums in the United Kingdom during the early 20th century?
Okay, so the research idea for the edited issue came from a panel that we co-convened. Massimiliano, Elisabetta, and I co-convened for the 2020 edition of the Association for Art History conference, and the three of us were working on PhD projects that were related to British museum history in different capacities and in different ways. And this panel had a bit of a difficult history because it was the conference was cancelled because of COVID. It was conducted 1 year later. It was also a difficult political scenario in the UK at that moment, with the context of Brexit and with all the pandemic context. And there were initially 5 papers for that conference. So what we noticed in those papers was a shared interest or a shared importance of all the backstage of the institutions and all the power tensions and balances that were taking place behind the scenes, and that the public normally when they visit exhibitions, they don't see what's been going on before these exhibitions take place. So we were very interested in this topic, and that's the reason why we decided to launch a call for contributions. And some of the papers that were presented at the Association for Art History conference were included in the edited guest issue. Some others aren't there, and some others were completely new from the call for contributions that we did a year later. And when we launched the call for contributions, we already specified that we were interested in these power dynamics within the museum.
Mm-hmm. So I read the introduction to that journal, but I couldn't really read your article. So if you can just elaborate a little bit and tell us for our audience that what exactly you throw light on in your article about Newcastle's Leon Art Gallery. Just a little bit and synopsize it.
Yeah. So the article is a collaboration with Massimiliano Papini, with my colleague, and he's an expert in Japanese art. And I was doing my PhD about the history of the Laia Art Gallery. The Laia Art Gallery is the flagship art gallery in the region, in Tyne and Wear. It's the northern England. And it was the first art gallery to open in this region, but it was also one of the last provincial art galleries to open in England. And I was very interested in the history of this gallery, because it has a particularity, and it is that it opened without a collection. It was an empty building when it first was inaugurated. And I was very interested in the history of the first curator of the gallery, and how he managed to achieve what is nowadays the current collection of the gallery, which is a collection of British art. But at the same time that he was building this collection of British art, he was trying to bring about other kinds of art and other collections that maybe were not achievable for him for financial reasons, because the budget for this gallery was very limited. So he was trying to bring inspiration to the region, and to bring artworks from other different origins that maybe were not affordable enough for him to buy, but that still could be of interest, particularly to the people working in craft industries in the region, which the Northeast was very strong in traditional crafts such as ceramics, glass, ironwork. So he was very interested in craft, and he was also working in connection with the Newcastle University, which was not named as such at the time, but was part of Durham University. So he wanted to bring inspiration to students and to the people in general of the region. And he had this interest in Japanese art. And I came across the catalog of this exhibition, and that is where my colleague Massimiliano stepped in, because he was researching the influence and the contacts between Japan and the northeast of England during the late Victorian and Edwardian period, so late 19th century and beginning of the 20th century. That's why we decided to explore this exhibition, which took place at the beginning of the museum. The museum was only 9 years old, so the permanent collection barely existed at that time. It was very, very small. And that means that the gallery relied basically on loans and temporary exhibitions. And this played a very important role at the beginning of the history of the land.
Yeah. It's very interesting that we talk about the crafts movement in England, especially Newcastle, which was the center of industrialization.
Yeah.
And also, if you look at the arts and craft movement, which was pioneered by William Morris, he actually drew inspiration from art and crafts from throughout the globe.
Yeah.
And you say the same thing about how Japanese art was incorporated in this museum through the personal enthusiasm of one person.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I would like to ask you my last question about your publication. That how do you think has the notion of the global has evolved from the early 20th century to now in the European museum industry as such, in terms of viewership as well as curatorship? Do you think that there has been a fundamental transformation in the way we approach the global, or has it more been a cosmetic transformation as such?
That's a very interesting question. I think the views from people like C.B. Stevenson, the curator of the Lang, or other curators of his generation, were directly colonial views. They were part of still of the British Empire, and there was this idea of the I will put it into brackets, but the exotic, or the otherness, or the curious, and then there were racist prejudices towards just looking at the work of whatever was not Western as considered something to put it in the most positive way, just exotic, and in other aspects, just as otherness, something that doesn't belong to us. We are the civilized, and we are just curious about what they are doing. Stevenson may have had a wider approach because he tried to bring also notions of craftsmanship and of the history of Japan, and to inform this approach, which was in other circumstances just seen as yes, a curiosity. And I think this has been a tradition that in a way has been dragging and has been contaminating museums in the Western world for a very long time.
Thank you so much, Laia, for this interesting conversation. Thank you so much.